Welcome to the Night Arise YT.
Today, we're literally playing historical detectives to uncover the secrets of an ancient, completely forgotten world. We're looking at a society so incredibly advanced, so peaceful, and so vast that it fundamentally challenges our entire understanding of human history. Yet, for thousands of years, it just lay completely buried and forgotten beneath the earth. By examining historical records, archaeological data, and clues left behind in stone, we're going to explore the rise, the amazing innovations, and the ultimate chilling disappearance of the Indus Valley civilization.
I mean, it's a question that sounds like the plot of a science fiction movie, right? How does a highly advanced, entirely peaceful civilization just vanish from history? Well, our story actually begins completely by accident back in 1827. Picture this. A soldier named James Lewis decided he was absolutely fed up with the British East India Company. So he deserts the army, changes his name to stay undercover, and just follows his passion for traveling. 2 years later, while wandering through the Punjab region, he stumbles upon the ruins of this massive, unknown city. He documented his findings with these really careful drawings, having absolutely no idea that he had just accidentally discovered the ancient city of Harappa. It would actually take another 100 years for archaeologists to realize exactly what he had found.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The sheer geographical scale of this civilization is absolutely staggering. Archaeologists have discovered over 1,400 distinct sites belonging to the Indus Valley civilization. 900 of these lie in present-day India, with the other 500 scattered across present-day Pakistan and Afghanistan. We aren't just talking about a couple of isolated towns here. We are looking at a massive, sprawling network of communities connected by rivers and trade routes spanning an incredibly vast territory.
To truly appreciate this, we really have to grasp just how long ago this all happened. A joint 2016 study by IIT Kharagpur and the Archaeological Survey of India pushed the timeline back even further than we originally thought, suggesting the civilization might actually be up to 8,000 years old. Farming settlements kicked off around 7,000 BC. By 5500 BC, we start seeing the sparks of urbanization, and by 2600 BC, they were building highly advanced cities. This civilization existed right alongside the great ancient Mesopotamian and Egyptian civilizations, and it actually predates ancient Chinese civilization. But as the timeline shows, by 1900 BC, a rapid decline begins, and by 600 BC, they are completely gone.
Section 1. Masters of Urban Planning. Before we get to their tragic end, we really need to understand how these people lived at their absolute peak. Around 2600 BC, the Indus Valley people became literal masters of their environment. They implemented an urban planning system that, frankly, surpasses the layout of some modern cities today. Seriously. They were building multi-storied houses out of burnt bricks that had perfectly standardized measurements across the entire civilization. Every single house had an attached toilet and a bathing area. They engineered this incredibly complex drainage system to carry waste out of the houses into covered gutters on the streets. They had footpaths lined with trees, public wells for accessible drinking water, and even public dustbins for waste disposal. Thousands of years ago, they were prioritizing public health and sanitation on a massive scale. It's just wild.
And this meticulous planning wasn't just for individual houses, it scaled up to the entire city structure. Almost every Indus city followed a specific, highly organized pattern divided into two main segments. First, you had the lower mount, which contained the residential areas. Then you had the upper mount, or the citadel, which was typically built on higher ground to the west and housed public marketplaces and workshops. Both of these areas were surrounded by massive boundary walls. But here is what is truly fascinating about that. Historians believe these walls weren't actually built for warfare. No, they were built to protect the cities from rising floodwaters and to keep wild animals out. Human enemies, it seems, just weren't a major threat. Now, the absolute crown jewel of this architectural prowess is found in the city of Mohenjo-Daro, which ominously translates to the Mound of the Dead. Mohenjo-Daro was likely the capital of the Indus Valley civilization, and it features this iconic structure known as the Great Bath. This was a multi-storied 900-square-foot public swimming pool, about 2.4 meters deep. It was constructed with those perfectly standardized burnt bricks and brilliantly waterproofed using natural tar. It even had its own dedicated well to ensure the pool was constantly supplied with fresh water. So the really crucial point here is that while we know a lot about what they built, what they didn't build is honestly even more revealing. In stark contrast to the Egyptians or the Mesopotamians, excavations have found absolutely no temples or religious sites, no opulent palaces, no grand royal tombs. There is literally zero evidence of a monarch, a wealthy ruling class, powerful priests, or a standing army. Historians were completely shocked by this. All the evidence points to a highly advanced, happy, and peaceful society operating without any visible social hierarchy. It was essentially an ancient egalitarian utopia.
Section 2. Mystery number 1. The Uncracked Code. So if they were so incredibly advanced, how did they communicate? Well, despite unearthing over 4,000 artifacts, things like stone seals, tablets, and copper plates heavily engraved with their language, we still cannot read a single word they wrote. The Indus script remains entirely uncracked. To understand why it's so incredibly difficult to decipher, just consider this number: 400. That is the number of unique signs and symbols historians have identified in the Indus script. When you compare that to the mere 26 letters in our English alphabet, the sheer volume of characters immediately tells linguists that we are definitely not looking at a simple alphabet.
Because there are over 400 symbols, ranging from little stick figures to fish, crabs, and birds, historians classify the Indus script as logosyllabic. What this means is that instead of a symbol representing just a single letter, a single symbol expresses an entire word or a specific phonetic sound. Think of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. In Egyptian, the drawing of a vulture doesn't mean the letter V, it represents the specific sound ah. The Indus script operates on a very similar, highly complex level of phonetic and symbolic integration.
You're probably wondering, but why can we read Egyptian hieroglyphs and not the Indus script? Well, it comes down to one vital missing puzzle piece. We decoded Egyptian hieroglyphs because archaeologists discovered the Rosetta Stone, a giant rock that featured the exact same text written in both unknown Egyptian hieroglyphs and known ancient Greek. It functioned perfectly like an ancient Google Translate. The great tragedy of the Indus Valley civilization is that no bilingual Rosetta Stone has ever been found. Imagine trying to translate Chinese without ever knowing the language existed and having absolutely no dictionary. That is the massive hurdle we're facing here.
Now, what's really fascinating is that even without a translation, linguistic detectives have actually deduced some of their grammar rules just by studying visual patterns. First, we know they wrote from right to left because the symbols get noticeably cramped on the left margin as the writer clearly ran out of space. Second, the text is almost always placed above a prominent animal carving, very often a mythical-looking unicorn. Third, a specific jar-shaped symbol frequently appears at the very end of texts, functioning almost like a full stop. And lastly, certain symbols are paired. For example, a diamond symbol is always followed by two parallel lines, never a stick figure. So they definitely had strict linguistic rules, even if we don't know what they actually mean.
Section 3. The Mesopotamian Connection.
As we dive deeper into the script, things take a really fascinating twist. Archaeologists started unearthing stones bearing the Indus script far away in historical Mesopotamian sites in present-day Iraq and Iran. This proves, without a doubt, that a robust, long-distance trade network existed between these two great ancient empires. But the Mesopotamians did something very strange. Remember that jar-shaped symbol we talked about that acts like a full stop? Well, on the stones found in Mesopotamia, this symbol is repeated twice in a row. This is a massive anomaly. In the thousands of texts found within the Indus Valley itself, that symbol is never, ever repeated back to back. So why would the rules of the language suddenly change just because the stones were found a few miles away? Historians actually believe they've solved this specific puzzle, and honestly, it's brilliant. They believe the Mesopotamians were using the characters of the Indus script to write their own distinct Mesopotamian language. To understand this, think about writing the Hindi word aram, which means resting, using the English-Latin alphabet. You'd spell it A-A-R-A-M. You're using a double A at the beginning, which is a spelling pattern that doesn't natively exist in English words. By adopting a foreign alphabet to write their local language, the Mesopotamians created entirely new visual patterns, like that double jar symbol that the native Indus people never actually used. Section 4. Mystery number 2. The sudden, mysterious collapse. All of this international trade paints a picture of a truly dominant, thriving society. Which brings us to the final, haunting mystery. How does the society that thrived for 5,000 years entirely vanish? The archaeological record paints a very somber picture. Between 1900 BC and 1300 BC, this meticulously planned utopia just fell apart. The highly organized urban planning completely stopped. The complex street trains choked up and failed. The magnificent Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro, which was once a symbol of purity and engineering, was unceremoniously filled with garbage and waste. Trade links with Mesopotamia were severed, standardized weights were abandoned, and these grand, multi-storied cities rapidly emptied out. Because they left no readable records, we don't know for certain what triggered this absolute apocalypse. But looking at the evidence impartially, historians generally point to three leading theories. First, a major shift in tectonic plates may have caused their vital water source, possibly the Saraswati River, to change course or dry up completely, forcing the survivors to migrate east toward the Ganga River. Second, the millions of burnt bricks required for their grand cities demanded massive amounts of wood, which possibly led to severe deforestation that completely destroyed their local environment. Or third, a fatal, highly contagious waterborne disease like cholera or malaria swept through those densely packed cities, tragically wiping out the population.
By 600 BC, a civilization that had endured for millennia was simply gone, eventually buried under dirt and totally forgotten until James Lewis stumbled upon it thousands of years later. It really leaves us with a profound and provocative thought. The Indus Valley civilization was peaceful, technologically brilliant, beautifully egalitarian, and existed for over 5,000 years. That is far longer than our current modern societies have been around, yet it entirely collapsed. If a civilization that advanced and that deeply rooted can completely vanish into the dust of history, leaving behind only silent, unreadable stones, well, what does that mean for the longevity of our own world today? It's a mystery that not only challenges our past, but asks some pretty hard questions about our future.